Ambassador, the United States has threatened punitive measures against the International Criminal Court over its independent decision, both by the prosecutor and confirmed by the pretrial chamber, to issue arrest warrants against the Israeli leadership over the conduct of the war against Hamas in Gaza. Some accusing the United States of undermining global justice efforts, and that it has the potential, U.S. action has the potential to damage not only the court, but the conduct and the implementation of international law.
Not going to comment.
Briefing by the United States Representative Ambassador Linda Thomas Greenfield, when asked about the International Criminal Court, ICC's decision to issue arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, and Hamas commander Mohammed Deif, the U.S. ambassador said, "Watch this."
Good afternoon, everyone. And let me thank all of you for being here. I don't think I've ever seen this room this full. A little scary, I have to admit. Anyway, I'm delighted to see all of you here. So I'd like to go back in history a bit. 2021, March. A few days after I arrived at the United Nations, the United States assumed the presidency of the Security Council. And then here we are nearly 4 years later, just about a month before I depart finally, we assume the same role. This presidency really does feel like a fitting bookend to my time here. And so before I dive into what we have planned this month, I want to take a moment to talk about how far we've come through the lens of presidencies past. I think about where we were that very first time I sat behind the president's placard in March of 2021. Technically, I was sitting at home behind the president's Zoom title. Still in the throes of COVID-19, the council met and negotiated virtually. But despite the distance between us, my goal for the presidency was to reaffirm the bonds that united us, to show the world that America was back, that we were ready to re-engage with the world, repair our alliances, and be a trusted partner for peace, progress, and security. Our program of work for March reflected our efforts to once again lead with the values that define our national character: democracy and integrity, freedom and justice, equality and opportunity, focusing on gender equity and collective efforts to ensure women's full and effective participation in public life, working to alleviate the gut-wrenching humanitarian situation in Yemen, Ethiopia, and Syria, as well as what was then a burgeoning crisis in Burma, and spotlighting food insecurity and the perfect storm of COVID, conflict, climate that caused it to skyrocket. 15 months later, when I assumed the presidency for the second time, it was in person. The worst of the pandemic was largely behind us, but with grave new challenges in front of us. Perhaps the biggest item on our agenda was addressing Russia's unprovoked, unjustified war against Ukraine, aggression that began when Russia itself was president of the Council. We also introduced a resolution to hold the DPRK accountable for its continued unlawful ballistic missile launches and address the role of digital technologies as well as women and girls in maintaining international peace and security. And of course, we kept the spotlight on food insecurity, exacerbated especially across the Sahel by Russia's senseless war. Our third presidency came in August of 2023, just months after war broke out in Sudan. We held the first open briefing on the country since the start of the conflict, detailing the horrors that had begun to emerge from West Darfur. We once again addressed the situation in Ukraine as well as the state of human rights around the world, including the DPRK. And for the third time, we focused on global famine and food insecurity. Reflecting on these three past presidencies, you can see the common threads, or perhaps more accurately, the loose ends. The intersection of conflict and food insecurity from Yemen to Ethiopia, Ukraine to Sudan. The ways in which women and girls are both disproportionately impacted by war, and the key to stopping it, or better yet, preventing it in the first place. The increasing role of technology, including AI, in our peace-building strategy. And the reality that there will always be a Security Council agenda filled to the brim with crises, catastrophes of the day, the kinds of challenges that seem intractable until they aren't. President Biden asked that every member of the cabinet run through the tape. That is, work tirelessly to finish what we started on behalf of the American people and those counting on our leadership all over the world. Now, technically, I can only run to the tape. I've had a bad knee recently, as some of you may have noticed, that won't be happy with me if I try to do anything more than walk with purpose. But this fourth and final presidency is going to be a sprint, because we have a lot of work ahead of us. Not a lot of time, but we have a lot of work ahead of us. So kicking things off tomorrow, we'll be hosting a briefing on women, peace, and security, focusing on the transformative power of intergenerational dialogue between young and senior women peace builders. We'll be elevating the voices of emerging and established leaders with experience at the grassroots, local, national, and global levels, and perspectives critical to defining the next 25 years of WPS agenda. Second, on December 19th, we'll convene to discuss the impact of artificial intelligence on international peace and security, building on our work the past 4 years, including through our landmark General Assembly resolution to govern AI with a focus on human rights, sustainable development, and capacity building. In the days between, we'll be covering all manner of issues, from Russia's ongoing assault on the Ukrainian people, to the ongoing security crisis in Haiti, to the humanitarian catastrophe in Sudan, to the conflict in the Middle East, including Gaza and the recently concluded ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon. And of course, it goes without saying that the situation in Gaza will be at the top of our focus. We will continue our relentless diplomacy to bring an end to this conflict and bring the remaining hostages home. We will continue to work around the clock to alleviate the suffering of the Palestinian people. And finally, and what should come as no surprise, we will once again highlight food insecurity around the globe. As many of you know, this has been personal for me. As I detailed in the council just a few weeks ago, I've seen starvation up close, and it's not something one can easily forget or ignore. Today, significant and urgent action is needed more than ever before, as hundreds of millions of people face food insecurity, and many even famine. And so the United States will convene a high-level meeting on food insecurity on December 9th, focused on galvanizing actions toward achieving SDG 2, zero hunger. We'll be bringing together experts from across the international community to discuss where we've been, where we're going, and more importantly, where we are in the collective fight to end food security. Now, this presidency may be a bookend, but I'm under no delusions that this month will offer only happy endings. There's a reason we continue to focus on gender inequality and food insecurity, digital threats and regional conflicts, and that because these are stubborn challenges that unfortunately outlast any one presidency in the council or otherwise. That promise, that mission, is what keeps us coming back to the table even when change and democracy and diplomacy are hard. And yes, even when the future is uncertain. Because we have no other option. Far too many people are relying on us, for us, to simply throw up our hands. And so instead, we will roll up our sleeves and continue our work. So with that, I'm happy to take your questions.
It's good to see everyone. We'll start with Valeria.
Thank you so much, Nate. Thank you, Ambassador, on behalf of the United Nations Correspondent Association for this press conference. We wish you the best of luck for the month ahead, and I think I express what all my colleagues think, saying thank you for the past 4 years of being open and always available, stopping at the stakeout. We really have appreciated that. So Valeria Robecco from ANSA Newswire. My question is on Syria. What diplomatic margins do you think are there to start negotiation in Syria right now?
We have wanted those negotiations to take place for a very, very long time. It is the Assad regime who has ignored Security Council resolutions and refused to come to the table. The current situation on the ground is concerning. We are watching that situation very closely, and we will continue to engage with partners in the region to find a path to end to the conflict and for the situation to go back to calm. We have declared this entity a terrorist organization, and we want to find a path for the Syrian people to achieve security and peace. I'm going to sit down if you don't mind.
Sure.
No, I'm going to do the middle.
Okay.
Go ahead. I can hear while I walk.
Michelle.
Thanks, Ambassador. Michelle Nichols from Reuters. You mentioned Gaza. Can you give us some sort of update on where the talks are at the moment to try and get a ceasefire in Gaza? What's holding it up? What makes you think you can get this done by January 20? And also, what is the US doing to, improve the aid situation, which is still as dire as ever?
As I said in my remarks, our diplomatic efforts continue. I can't tell you exactly where the talks are. I can tell you that those efforts are continuing to be made with the hopes that we can get to a resolution. And on the humanitarian situation, again, the situation is dire. We are not in any way playing down how dire the situation is, but we're also on the ground every single day working to find a solution, working to ensure that food and other necessary assistance is being delivered to the Palestinian people. And more needs to be done in that area, and we're going to continue to work on that.
Thanks. Emily.
Thanks. Amélie Botelier from AFP News Agency. My question is about Haiti. You and Ecuador have started negotiation to have the councils ask the Secretary General to reflect on the transformation of the MSS into a peacekeeping operation. The Security Council meeting a few days ago showed that some member states are not really happy with that. So can you update us about the negotiation, and do you plan to put this resolution to a vote soon?
The negotiations are continuing, and as you mentioned, they are not easy. Because there are members of the council who have balked at the idea of a peacekeeping mission. But this is what the Haitian people have asked for. It's what the former prime minister asked for. It's what the new prime minister has asked for. And so we're working with other members of the council, with the Secretary General, as well as with others to work to get to a place where we can bring a peacekeeping mission forward. I can't tell you when and how we will succeed. I can tell you that we're continuing to work on it, and I know that we will eventually get there.
Go Maggie, then Sherwin, and then we'll
Thank you, Ambassador. Margaret Bashir, Voice of America. Will you be highlighting, spotlighting the situation in Sudan during the month? What do you have planned to do that? And President-elect Trump has nominated Elise Stefanik to succeed you. I just wonder if you have any advice for her.
Well, yes, on Sudan. So we are looking at having a ministerial level meeting on Sudan sometime around the end of our presidency. We're looking at having this on the 19th as well. And on my replacement, I am here to give her, to answer any questions that she might have. I congratulate her for assuming this role, and I know that all of you and all of my colleagues in the Security Council will look forward to working with her.
Sherwin.
And maybe she should get a red jacket, right?
So I will tell you about the red jacket. He always asks me these tough questions.
That was not my question.
I know.
Next.
I will look. If you look back in December, I always wear red in December. So you will see me wearing red almost every day in December. It's a tradition for me.
Ambassador, the United States has threatened punitive measures against the International Criminal Court over its independent decision, both by the prosecutor and confirmed by the pretrial chamber, to issue arrest warrants against Israeli leadership over the conduct of the war against Hamas in Gaza. Some accusing the United States of undermining global justice efforts, and that it has the potential, U.S. action has the potential to damage not only the court, but the conduct and the implementation of international law. The Japanese president of the court, Judge Tomoko Akane, said the court is being threatened by draconian economic sanctions by a permanent member of the Security Council as if it were a terrorist organization. How does the United States respond to this very specific criticism from allies of your own country?
I can't respond to this other than to say that we have worked with the court in the past, but we do believe that this particular case against the Israelis is not justified.
And does that warrant sanctions? Does that warrant punitive measures? Disagreeing with other institutions, allies? I mean, there have been specific countries named by certain Republican senators, including Canada, France, the United Kingdom. 124 member nations are members and party to the ICC.
And we're not a party to the ICC, as you know, but I'm not going to comment on the comments that have been made about the ICC by
Sanctions, is the threat of sanctions appropriate?
I'm not going to comment.
Pam.
Sorry. Thank you so much, and we're looking forward to the month, Ambassador. It's,
Thank you.
Pamela Falk from News and World Report. You have made, over the years, the last few years, food security a flagship of this administration, and you're looking to do it now. One of them was Black Sea Grain Initiative. There are a lot of other things that have had some success, some challenges, but there are now, and it's another side of Sherwin's question, there are now proposed major tariffs from the incoming president-elect. I'm not asking you to comment on them, but what do your colleagues tell you? I have no doubt. I mean, we're all getting questions from them, like, what does this mean? Do you have concerns about supply chains with the with the new tariff proposals? And what are your colleagues saying to you about their concerns about what's up next? Thank
Well,
you.
it hasn't been raised yet by my colleagues. I think your question might inspire them to raise this. But look, we have accomplished a significant amount on food security. We got 120 countries to sign on to a roadmap to deal with issues of food security. we have made this an issue that the Security Council deals with. And so that's not going to go away. I'm not going to, I don't have a crystal ball on what the new administration's policies will be in this area, but I know that what we have accomplished so far will have lasting value.
Thank you.
I think we have time for a couple more. Benno?
Thank you, Nate. Thank you, Ambassador Benno Schwenkhammer with the German press agency. As you pointed out, this will be the last 2 months of your tenure. In hindsight, what would you have done differently, and is there anything you regret?
That's a tough question.
Not German, but true.
What I'm thinking about is what we have accomplished. And I believe that over the course of the nearly 4 years that I've been here, I have really worked diligently to reaffirm our relationships across the board. I came here with a policy that no one thought that I could achieve, and that was to have meetings with every single PR from every single country. And I did that. 188. There are 4 or 5 that we don't meet with, but for all the countries that we meet with, I have met one-on-one or country to country with every single one of those countries. And what they have all said to me is that they have appreciated that. It has shown to them that the United States cares, that I care, and I think those relationships have mattered. So I'm very, very proud of having accomplished that, bringing back our leadership, bringing back the respect that had diminished somewhat. And so I know that when I walk out the door next month, that people will appreciate the efforts that I made with my team to show them respect and to work with them to accomplish issues of common interest.
But no regrets.
I'm not going to share my regrets. Yes, I have some regrets. As we look back on the world, we have the responsibility to bring peace and security. And as I walk out the door, there is conflict going on all around the world. Sudan, DRC, Gaza, Syria. People are suffering. Millions of people are still displaced. Millions of people are still suffering. So I do regret that and wish that I could have waved a magic wand to bring peace on earth and goodwill to men everywhere.
I think we have time for one more. I can do Tony.
Tony.
Thank you, Ambassador. Tony Naddaf, Al Hurriya TV. First of all, personally, I will be missing all your jackets in every color because really all year long, not only the red ones. Anyway, so following the ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah, President Biden announced that his administration will be pushing for a ceasefire and to end the war in Gaza also. Will you be using your presidency this month to push maybe for a ceasefire or draft resolution in the Security Council on this matter? And also I would like to hear from you about how the U.S. administration is approaching the recent violation of the ceasefire between Hezbollah and Israel. Thank you.
Look, what we will be working for is a diplomatic solution on the ground. We have people on the ground working around the clock to try to find a path to a ceasefire in Gaza and bring home the hostages and deal with the horrific humanitarian situation on the ground. We have never given up on that, and I can assure you this administration will be working on this until we succeed or until we walk out the door on January 20th, and I hope we succeed. We're working to succeed. And then on the situation in Lebanon, we're moving forward. There has been an agreement. There have been some hiccups, but the agreement is still standing, And we're looking forward to monitoring the situation on the ground to ensure that the situation continues, the ceasefire continues to be honored.
Sorry, I think that's all we have time for, but appreciate everyone's time.
Thanks.
Thanks.